How hot is it? I'm sorry. I can't do Ed McMahon. Never should have tried. Don Paul, meteorologist Don Paul, with my YouTube channel. Please subscribe. Don Paul Weather Plus. And it is getting to be hot today, but the peak heating will be occurring on Friday and into the weekend. And these are modeled heat index numbers, courtesy of Dr. Michael Ventris, an acquaintance from IBM's The Weather Company. And I don't know if you can read these numbers all that well, but this is a projection for Saturday. The heat index in Buffalo, oppressive, but not as dangerous as the other heat indices you see with the red colors. That's 92, and that might include some Lake Erie influence, which would keep the metro Buffalo temperature a little bit lower than some other parts of Western New York. In fact, on Friday, for example, there'll be a brisk southwest wind coming in off Lake Erie, which has temperatures in the low 70s. So the Buffalo waterfront, the Lake Erie shoreline will be the place to be for human comfort, relatively speaking, on Friday. The hottest part of Western New York with a brisk southwest flow. This may sound odd, but I'll explain it. Northern Niagara and northern Orleans counties, right up near the shoreline, in fact. Wilson, Olcott, Barker, Newfane, sometimes all the way to Youngstown, Albion, and Orleans County. What happens with a southwest wind, while it's a lake wind in northern Erie County, by the time you get up to northern Niagara, not Pendleton, we're talking about the northern parts of the counties, it's a land wind coming in off the Niagara Peninsula, and it heats up. And so on days like that, I've personally observed, taking a drive up to see the beautiful Lake Ontario shoreline, my car thermometer go up 10 degrees as I got closer to Olcott and Wilson, with a brisk southwest wind keeping Amherst and Buffalo temperatures in the 80s. So on Friday, I would expect your temperatures in those towns I mentioned near Lake Ontario, your actual temperatures will be in the mid 90s in the afternoon, with heat indices likely exceeding 100 degrees. That is, the heat index could range of 100 to 105 degrees, probably not quite that oppressive and potentially dangerous in the immediate Buffalo metro area, thanks to Lake Erie. Saturday, with the proximity of a front, we may lose some of that brisk breeze. Still should be some lake influence. And this heat and humidity is going to hold right into the beginning of next week. And we'll get to some changes which follow there and thereof. But other metro areas here on Saturday could be in real trouble. Forecast heat index in this model for Toledo of 107, 106 in Philadelphia, 102 in Central Park. And those are dangerous numbers, 103 in Providence. We don't see numbers that high that often. So before we get to that, tomorrow's temperatures, Wednesday, since I'm recording this on Tuesday, will actually be a little cooler. It's not going to feel any cooler, but it will be a little cooler due to the abundant cloud cover and the tropical moisture, which will be arriving overnight tonight. Tuesday night, some thunderstorms which develop may produce spotty torrential downpours and localized flooding. It can't be ruled out tonight or tomorrow evening. With that in mind, the Weather Service Prediction Center headquarters has a good part of Western New York at slight risk, that's 10 to 20%, for excessive rainfall, implying the possibility of flash flooding. Flash flooding is distinct from flooding in the speed of its oncoming. It can be rapid rises on streams, creeks, and areas with poor drainage, which can strand cars and, in rare cases, at least in our region, Western New York, be life-threatening. That's why we always repeat, turn around, don't drown. Sounds like a dopey slogan, but it's a very wise slogan. So this threat begins later tonight, Tuesday night, into tomorrow. The coverage for the downpours will be uneven. That is the nature of convection. It's kind of cellular. It's not a widespread general rainfall where everybody's getting wet at the same time. And that's reflected in the precipitation forecast from Weather Service headquarters. And if you look and see these shades of purple, the resolution has been improved on this product in the last week. But even so, it can't pinpoint exactly where these exceptional downpours are going to occur. In general, Weather Service headquarters feels the heaviest amounts will be south of Buffalo, but even the Niagara frontier would still pick up some pretty hefty totals. Considering the path of the remnants of Barry, which is no longer a tropical storm system, this would be a likely solution, but convection can pop up almost anywhere in western New York beginning late tonight. And that's reflected in this high resolution model. And if you look at western New York, you see some patches of pinkish coloring, and that indicates rainfall potential that could exceed 2.5 inches in a few spots. Pretty confident, and so are my colleagues at the Weather Service. No, I haven't been on the phone with them, but I can see what they're thinking in their discussions, that some parts of western New York will see in excess of 2 inches of rain. And now, we've had drier conditions in general the last few days, which gives the soil a little more absorption capability. But if you get those downpours which produce 2+ inches of rain in very short order, that's what can lead to dangerous flash flooding. If you live in a flood-prone neighborhood with poor drainage, you may want to take the usual precautions and move vulnerable stuff from your basement to a higher spot in your basement, that kind of thing. So the coverage you can see are uneven. It's not going to be a steady rain. This threat will continue into tomorrow night, and then this activity should be thinning out somewhat on Thursday. Then by Friday, we get into that stiff southwest flow with a hot ridge of high pressure coming just about over us. In fact, let's take a look at the upper air flow. This is an ensemble product from National Weather Service headquarters. And let me move that up into my iPhone range. No, that's not a plug for Apple. Listen, my phone's not free. Don't even think that. There we are. See that brownish coloring? That indicates a cross-continental hot ridge of high pressure from Southern California all the way to Long Island. And this little kink, this is as of tonight. This is a conglomeration of all the models. This is the upper air pattern. That little kink is what used to be Barry, and that's what's bringing all the tropical moisture in. And then as that kink passes us, that ridge actually builds. And here we are coming into Friday. Remember, I said that's the day with heat indices that could exceed 100 degrees. And the actual temperature inland from Lake Erie will be pushing 90 in many locations. And in northern Niagara and Orleans counties, the actual temperature could reach the mid-90s with truly dangerous heat indices. Saturday, as we head into Saturday, this red area of high pressure, this is extraordinary heat building up for the weekend. The humidity doesn't drop, it just gets hotter. So those are going to be oppressive days. Here we are coming into Sunday, not much of a change. Monday, not much of a change. That hot ridge is still with us. And then, as we move toward Tuesday, in this region, there will be a cold front, and the ridge of high pressure begins to drop back. So relief should begin to arrive on Tuesday. Then the hot ridge goes from the eastern U.S. to the western U.S., and there it is building up over the Rockies all the way up into Montana. Here we are coming into Thursday next week, this cooling trough in the Great Lakes. I can't guarantee completely dry weather with it, but it will have an factor beginning around Tuesday and then continuing on Wednesday, Thursday, and we get into Friday, Saturday. We still have this relatively comfortable pattern. We're into Sunday. We're getting out near the outer range limit to this ensemble. And so this relief, compared to what we're going to be facing late this week, this weekend, and Monday, stays. It's not a one-day burst of relief on Tuesday. Here we are coming up to the end of the month on Tuesday evening, July 31st, and we still have this comfortable troughing over the Great Lakes in the Northeast. So this is going to be an exceptionally long spell of heat and humidity, preceded by the threat posed by tropical downpours. But at least when the relief gets here after this exceptionally long stretch, it looks like a pretty long stretch of more comfortable conditions. And on that optimistic note, the Prince of Pessimism asks you once again to please subscribe to my YouTube channel. I need to see a little more growth if I'm going to keep doing this thing, and YouTube wants to see some more growth too. So if you like this kind of heat and humidity that's coming, I think you're nuts. I mean that in a pejorative sense. Just kidding. I'm a wussy. I'm grateful to have air conditioning in the house. I grew up in an alley apartment in the New York area with no cross ventilation. So I count myself as very fortunate. But if you don't have air conditioning, you all know there are places you can go for at least several hours relief, the movies, the malls, that kind of thing. On Friday, if you want to be outdoors, there will be a really helpful wind off the lake, making the waterfront in Buffalo and the Lake Erie shoreline much more pleasurable and more bearable than the interior. I will talk to you soon. Please subscribe.